and Human Services Chief Alex Azar is awful. And he wants to fire the FDA commissioner, Stephen Hahn, for refusing to roll out an unsafe and untested coronavirus vaccine, which would in theory help Donald Trump get reelected. So looks like there's a little bit of drama in the White House, more drama, which is something you can usually expect. And you know what else you can expect? Another segment of As the White House Turns.
Made some very big mistakes.
I asked for his resignation.
I'm disappointed in the Attorney General.
So we keep hearing Donald Trump tease the release of a vaccine very, very soon. Well, Alex Azar has vented to his allies within the Health and Human Services Department about his unhappiness with Stephen Hahn, the top official in charge of the vaccine process, and discussed the prospect of seeking White House permission to remove him and a half dozen current and former and this is according to what a half dozen current and former administration officials have told Politico. So it seems like there's been a rivalry between them. So this could be about more than the release of a vaccine. Azar suspected that FDA officials were serving as the source of damaging stories about the department and its coronavirus response. He grew irritated over a perception that Hahn often dealt directly with the White House, bypassing his immediate supervisors at HHS. Nando, even in government, we have that professional managerial class drama.
Oh yeah.
Care to weigh in?
Yeah, going way over his head, going straight to the president. I mean, all this stuff. Yeah, seriously. I mean, all this stuff. I mean, it's fun to laugh at just how incompetent and petty and leaky this administration has always been. It's like the massive turnover. Like they can't keep anyone in any job for more than like 3 or 4 months. But it is also like one of the more compelling arguments for voting for Biden is just like a basic handling of things like the approvals for a vaccine. Like, can you imagine?
Right.
Like, can you imagine if like some Trump ghoul is in charge of like approving a vaccine? Like I would become an anti-vaxxer. Like I would become like one of these like cranks in Santa Monica.
Yeah, it is a huge problem because reasonable people who are not anti-vaxxers are gonna be incredibly skeptical of anything coming out of the FDA under Trump's so-called leadership. I mean, he has politicized everything. Rightfully so, exactly. He has politicized everything, and we know that he has no problem risking the lives of others if it means that he can get an upper hand in his agenda, his political goals, his financial goals, whatever it is. So I know that if a vaccine were to come out like next week, and I'm not trying to discourage people from vaccinations, but just understand what I'm saying. He's not a good person. He's selfish and has no problem putting others at risk. So if something were to come out next week, yeah, I would be super skeptical about it. And I don't know what I would do in terms of like giving people advice on whether or not they should take that vaccine. You need to have people in government that you can trust with public safety and health. And we don't have that right now.
Yeah, I mean, it is one of the more disorienting things about this time in our country is that like, everyone's been suffering through the coronavirus pandemic, everywhere in the world, but certain countries have kind of handled it okay. And there's a sense of like, we're all in this together, and the government more or less is trying its best to figure it out, and they may make mistakes and all that stuff. But here it is just this kind of chaotic war between people who just do not trust each other and do not trust the people in power. Even like the thing is, even on some level, even Trump's hardest supporters like wouldn't trust the information coming out from the White House. Like on some deep level, they don't really trust it either. So yeah, it is just it's.
I like that you brought that up because I have a neighbor who voted for Trump. He actually is a very lovely guy. He's like one of the nicest neighbors that I have. But what I thought was interesting, and I avoid talking politics with him because I knew he voted for Trump, and I don't want that to ruin our relationship. We get along really well. Let's just keep it at that. Please, I need a little bit of like calm in my personal life at least. And I noticed that early on in the pandemic, he was wearing a mask. And as he was walking, one of our other neighbors, who's also a Trump supporter, was like, what do you have on your face? What are you wearing on your face? And he's like, I'm wearing a mask because there's a pandemic and you need to wear a mask to prevent the spread. And the guy mentioned Trump says this and that. And he's like, yeah, Trump's a moron when it comes to this issue. So I think you're right. I know I'm giving you anecdotal evidence, but like,
no, it's, yeah.
I think that it's indicative of like just the public consciousness of what works and what doesn't work. And sure, Trump's gonna have his hardcore supporters who are gonna listen to him no matter what. But I don't think his entire base buys his nonsense regarding the pandemic and what you should and shouldn't do to stay safe. Real quick, Azar has gone as far as to float potential replacements for Hahn, identifying HHS testing czar Brett Girori or whatever his name is as a
who cares?
Pair of his career civil servants. Anyway, basically, he wants to replace Hahn, who has been very friendly to Trump. Like he has gone along with Trump. He just refuses to like roll out a vaccine that hasn't been proven yet. And so Azar's like, you're not enough of a lackey. We're gonna try to bring in people who will lick boots even harder and will approve any vaccine regardless of how unsafe it is. And that is incredibly damaging and dangerous.
Thanks for watching the Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.